Hey everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and a most heartfelt salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the AMC Movie News headquarters here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us a part of your day.
Also here, sitting right next to me, is writer-director John Schnepp.
I know we changed up because we got another dude here.
Well, wait a minute. You never sit on that side of me. I never sit here.
But you know what? It's totally cool. I'm happy. You know, I woke up this morning. I was like, I totally saw the Avengers. That's how I woke up. Woke up this morning just feeling that way.
And also your editor-in-chief for Collider.com, Steve Weintraub.
Frosty's in the house.
Thank you for having me back.
Thanks for coming. Hey, listen, guys, before we get started, I wanted to share something with you kind of cool that we had a chance to do this weekend. Now, on Friday was, me and Frosty were both at the Avengers press junket. Had a very good time at that stuff. And he's found some stuff out that we were talking about off camera. I'll let him decide what he's going to share. But one of the really cool things that I got to do that I'm sure a lot of other people, my peers in this business, wouldn't really care much about, but I thought it was one of the coolest things I've ever got to do in my career in this field. On Saturday was the official Avengers press conference where they had the whole cast and Kevin Feige, Joss Whedon was in there, cut stuff, and Disney phoned me a few days ago and they said, John, we need somebody who is a man among men. No, that's not what they said. They said, you're available, right? No, Disney gave me a call and say, hey, how would you like to come in and moderate this press conference? We need somebody who can kind of handle the room and stuff like that. And I said, absolutely yes. So I got to spend the afternoon with the cast crew. Here's actually a couple of the pictures that we're bringing up right now. There's me with the crew. You can see James Spader looking longingly at me. And I pulled a De Niro with Robert Downey Jr. I asked if anybody had any questions, and Robert Downey Jr. was waving his hand around frantically, and I just ignored him, which I can put that on my resume. It was there. I think there's another one with me and Scarlett and Joss Whedon, and it was a lot of fun. Everybody's been asking me, are you going to put a video of this up? I did not film it. I'm not even sure if Disney filmed it or not. I'm not positive. Did they?
They did not, but I did hear they allowed video, so I think there were people there
shooting it.
That were shooting it.
So if I find it, I'll include a link to it on our YouTube channel as well. But it was a lot of fun. We had a great time with it. And I guess I can officially consider myself a part of the Avengers now, right?
You are an official Avenger.
All right, let's get started. What's first up today?
All right, the weekend box office report is in, and it's another huge win for the 7th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise, Furious 7. The Vin Diesel-led sequel took the top spot at the box office with just over $60 million in its second week. Coming in second is the animated film Home, taking in $19 million. In third spot is The Longest Ride, making $13.5 million in its opening weekend. In fourth spot is the Will Ferrell Kevin Hart comedy Get Hard, bringing in $8.6 million in its third week. And rounding out the top 5 is Disney's Cinderella, making $7.2 million in its fifth week, bringing its worldwide total up to $436 million. John, what stands out to you in this weekend's box office report?
3 things. Fast and Furious 7 has now made, in its second week, $800 million worldwide. Wow. $800 million. So impressed. We've gone on and on about Fast and Furious here on this show, so I don't need to go too much into it. Also, really surprised with Home. I was surprised with how much it made on its first week. I mean, it's an animated film. We all know it's going to make a certain amount of scratch, right? We understood that, but it did exceedingly well. I thought this was a botched marketing campaign. Right. I thought there wasn't a lot of awareness of the film out there, but it did well, and now it's holding on to that number 2 spot again.
I think it's also a weak marketplace, though, for children's films.
Right now it is.
And that ultimately that plays into it. I mean, you have to examine that. Like, is there other things that people can go do in the movie theater? The answer is no. So that's one of the reasons it's overperforming.
Right. And the third thing there is, honestly, I thought The Longest Ride did much better than I thought it would. And so, I mean, there's a lot of good, and Cinderella, 5th week in the top 5. I'm so glad to, because I love that movie. Anyway, Schnepp, what stands out to you about the box office report?
Well, you know what a Nicholas Sparks fan I am. I didn't even know who he was. They were telling me who he was. I was like, oh, The Notebook. Yeah, boo. It's just not my,
Not your cup of tea.
It's not in my wheelhouse, and neither is The Longest Ride. So I was like, oh, okay, that movie. It looks like Urban Cowboy from the poster, but whatever. Yeah, for me, the thing that stuck out is Fast and Furious, Unstoppable, and then Home. We keep talking about Home, and it's like, for me, the trailer didn't do anything. It was like that weird dude dancing and like the little cat, and I was like, oh, but you're absolutely right. There's nothing else out there, and families want to take their entire family out to enjoy an animated something, and that's the only something that's in theaters. So all you people who are making animated somethings, check this out and get in on that next year, because that's like get at least 3 of these movies to compete with Home 2, because they're like let's make a 3rd and a 4th one. They're already doing the sequel, so
yeah, that's coming. Frosty, what stands out to you about the box office report?
I think good movies. I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of when you go to the movies and have a good time, you're more apt to go again in the near future. Furious 7's a really good movie. It's a lot of fun, and it's a poignant. It's just really well done, and I think that people are maybe going to see it more than once, and I think that them enjoying that will lead to other films.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've gone to see it a couple times already. I wanted to just see that Paul Walker ending again. That was really good to me. All right, what's next?
While things have been mostly quiet on the Spider-Man front in recent weeks, Marvel president Kevin Feige has now opened up about our favorite web slinger and has given us some details, primarily that the new Spider-Man will indeed be a teenage Peter Parker and that we will not be given yet another origin story. Feige said the following: in terms of the age of what we believe Peter Parker is, I'd say 15 to 16 is right. There is a young kid already running around New York City in a homemade version of the Spider-Man costume in the MCU. You just don't know it yet. In Spider-Man's very specific case, where there have been 2 retellings of that origin in the last whatever it's been years, for us, we are going to take it for granted that people know that and the specifics. John, what do you think of Feige's comments?
Love them. From start to finish, I love them. We do not need another origin story with Spider-Man. Does that present a problem? Because, where has Spider-Man been in all the cinematic universes if he's already been established? That's a good question, but remember the lessons we learned from the last Hulk film. They didn't retell the origin story. They gave you a glimpse of the origin story in a 90-second montage of images and newspaper clippings, whatever, that basically told you the story without having to go into the origin stories again. You can do that again. I also look, I'm a big fan of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I totally am. But if you're going to change it up, teenager, I love it. I love that they're going to do that, because not only does it open up some really interesting narrative possibilities with that era of Spider-Man comics, but the other thing it does too is it means if you get a guy and you really like, and if it really works continuously this time, you can have the same Spider-Man for the next 20 years, Jack, and you do not have to worry about doing this nonsense again. But there's something else really interesting here. They confirmed it's Peter Parker. There was a lot of speculation. There was a report coming out. I can't remember if it was from Rap or Variety or somebody, but was reporting that, hey, we're pretty sure it's going to be Miles, right? We're pretty sure Spider-Man this time is going to be Miles. Okay, no, well, that's wrong. It's going to be Peter Parker. But take this for what it's worth. I don't think that precludes it from the idea that Peter Parker could be an Hispanic Peter Parker. It's a weird name for Hispanic, but it doesn't preclude from the notion it could be a black Peter Parker. They could still change things up as long as you keep the core essential elements and the personality traits of who Peter Parker is. It doesn't matter what race he is. They might want to play around with that. I'm not sure, but anyway, Frosty, some of this quote comes from an interview you did with Kevin Feige. Is where this comes from. What's your response to this?
I love the fact that he's going to be a teenager. I have no problems with it being. I think Peter Parker's a good fit, and as you said, it can be It doesn't have to be a white kid. It can be anybody. I would personally be down for them mixing it up. But I think that it's great that he's going to be a teenager. As Feige said in the interview, there's so many stories from the comics that are amazing from when he was in high school that they've never touched on. I mean, you're talking about just so many stories. I think the issue really is, though, that they're going to be making Civil War, where, Peter Parker, and then they're going to have the solo Spider-Man movie. But whoever they cast, say they're going to probably cast an 18-year-old kid. How long before he doesn't look like he's in high school? So how many movies can they really make?
I'm telling you right now, it's going to be Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp's going to be your new Spider-Man.
No, but this is actually I think it'll be great for the first movie, but then say you want to make 2 or 3 Spider-Man movies, the actor's going to age, and then how does he stay in high school and look like he's still in high school? Because that's another thing with Garfield. He doesn't look like he's in high school anymore. But I think that him being in high school is amazing. I think there's so many stories, and as Feige said, you can play so much with a 16-year-old Spider-Man interacting with Robert Downey Jr. and the other Marvel characters. It's so different to have a kid going with these gods, and having that banter. And that's another thing about casting. Who do you cast that can do that banter with Robert and with, all the other Marvel characters? But I'm so excited, and it just shows why Feige is Feige.
Yeah. Schnepp.
Well, I was kind of disappointed that they're not doing a third The Amazing Spider-Man 3. But
can you taste the sarcasm in the air?
Exciting news. I'm really excited to bring him back to high school. Remember, Tobey Maguire was in high school in the first Spider-Man, and then he graduated, I think, in the second one. But I think they could probably get 2 to 3 movies with him in high school if they figure it out and shoot them relatively within a couple of years of each other. If you have to wait 3 years, forget it. It's not going to happen. But if they do one every year, one every 2 years, we can have him graduating high school in the third movie. And I think you're right. You can have this Spider-Man be Spider-Man for 3, 4, 5 movies and interact with the Avengers and be in Infinity War and in Civil War, and then introduce Miles like in Spider-Man 5 and have a spinoff. They can have their little family if they want to have all those Spider-Man movies that they originally were trying to do with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, just do it right. So I'm excited.
I'm going to say something, and maybe you guys agree with me or don't. I think that as much as I'm excited to see Feige take on Spider-Man in the movie and him being in Civil War, I really think, and some people are going to get mad about this, I think Spider-Man belongs on TV. I think that Spider-Man would be amazing as a 13 or 16 episode show with him in high school. You could do these storylines because ultimately the movies can only come out every other year. You can't put them out every year. And so you're only going to be able to tell so many stories, but the comic mythology is so rich, and it's like you're going to leave so much on the table regardless. But anyway, that's my take. I would love to see him on TV.
The Spider-Man's not one I'd like to see on TV. I think I really like him in the feature world. But I'm going to say this too. I remember, if I'm not completely way far off, I might be off by a year or two. I believe Tobey Maguire might have been 27 years old when the first Spider-Man movie came
right.
out.
No, he was
when he was playing that high
school
student, right? So it's like, so we don't, when you're thinking about, okay, if they're going to get a 15, now I don't think his Peter Parker was supposed to be 15 and 16. He's probably, that Peter Parker was supposed to probably be closer to 18, probably. But still, I think we don't have to narrow our focus when trying to think about who might play the new Spider-Man to somebody then who's 17, 18, or 19. Tobey Maguire was 27. I don't know how old half the cast of the original 90210 were, but I think like one girl was like 30 years old.
Yeah, they were in their 50s.
Yeah, and you know, at least Andrew Garfield was in his late 20s when he started too. I mean, you could do it.
I'm just saying, after watching a lot of Daredevil and seeing what Marvel finally accomplished, I mean, it's so good.
Right.
I would love to see that kind of a take. It'll never happen because Spider-Man makes $1 billion at the box office. And
well, here's the thing: is like Daredevil. That's the elephant in the room, and this is a movie show, but we have to address it because it's part of the cinematic universe. It's part of it. So the way they were able to do Daredevil, I haven't even been able to watch all of them yet. I was really excited to get through it. But if they are able to do that and keep dipping in and out and weaving around, I think Daredevil did something that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. hasn't been able to do yet. It actually felt like I was watching a comic book, something, not a movie, but a TV show. They were just able to get all the characters, but set it in the universe. So I'm hoping they can keep doing that.
We got about 8 other topics we got to cover, so we got to fly through this. All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
According to The Hollywood Reporter, Furious 7 director James Wan is currently in talks to take over the director's chair for the upcoming DC film Aquaman, which will star Jason Momoa. The outlet says the only significant roadblock to Wan taking over Aquaman is Fast and Furious 8 and its potential scheduling. Aquaman will appear in the upcoming Batman vs. Superman in 2016 and most likely in Justice League Part 1 in 2017 before his standalone film hits AMC theaters on July 27, 2018. Jeanette, buy or sell James Wan taking over Aquaman?
I buy it. I just hope they call it King of Atlantis because that's way cooler than Aquaman. Like, here, I'm Waterman. I just don't like that name. It's always bothered me. Well, like all the other names are like, if you really break these names down, they're kind of corny. Batman, Spider-Man, Superman. But the dumbest one is Aquaman. To me, it's Waterman. Just call him Waterman. I still wouldn't see the movie. Call it King of Atlantis. That's all I got to say.
King of Atlantis would be a great title.
But also, James Wan is a great pick. That's skirting the issue.
I'm all for it. I buy it. I really do. I think he would be a great pick. However, I don't think it's going to actually happen. I think they're going to move full steam ahead with this Fast and the Furious franchise now. I think that, they talked about how they're setting up a new trilogy of films and all this kind of stuff. And I think the scheduling will probably buffer. Although they've got a little bit of wiggle room to see. But if it does happen, I'm all for it. So for me, it would be a buy.
I think that obviously whatever he wants to do next, he should do. He has proven himself in the horror genre. He has now moved into the big budget Hollywood, spectacle and done a tremendous job with unbelievably difficult circumstances.
Unimaginable circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good at what he does. I think that from what I understand, Universal has a deal with him that if they choose to bring him back for Furious 8, that he has to come back. But ultimately, no studio wants to force a director to take on something and be against doing it, because it's just not a good relationship when someone's not happy to be there.
Well, look what they did with the Godzilla 2 with the director's name, Gareth Edwards. They said, okay, Gareth's going to be busy, wants to do Star Wars. Let him do Star Wars. We'll move our project so he can still come back. Maybe we'll get a situation like that.
I think that Universal's going to want to move into pre-production rather quickly.
Oh no, I don't think you're wrong about that.
Right. So I think that ultimately he's going to have to figure out if he wants to do it and if Universal's going to force him to do it. But I think it's interesting because he's doing Conjuring 2 next,
right,
which is guaranteed. And I really believe that when he signed that deal, it was a 2-picture deal, one for a DC movie, but they didn't announce it yet. So, but here's an interesting little tidbit that I learned. I heard that Marvel was actually trying to land him for one of their movies, and that there was some talk about that. But
imagine Juan doing a Miss Marvel. Right? What? That would be interesting.
But I think that Juan can do whatever he wants, but I think that Marvel might have called him and said, hey, let's have a meeting or a sit down. I don't know if it happened, but I'm pretty sure that there has been talk. But I think ultimately he's going to end up doing Conjuring, and then I think he's going to do a DC movie. I don't think he's going to be on Furious 8. That's just my gut. I think Universal will ultimately go with someone else because, I think Furious 7 kicked the crap out of him.
All right, what's next?
Variety is reporting that reigning Best Actor winner Eddie Redmayne is the frontrunner to land the lead in the upcoming Harry Potter spin-off film Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The trade also mentions that while Redmayne is currently their top choice, they have not yet made an official offer to the actor, and that they are still considering Nicholas Hoult, who can be seen in the upcoming Mad Max Fury Road, hitting AMC theaters on May 15th. Steve, would you buy or sell Eddie Redmayne as the lead in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them?
100% yes. He is a beyond talented actor. He has not landed the big Hollywood franchise yet. And he just seems like the minute I heard his name with Fantastic Beasts, I'm like, oh, this is it. This makes sense. And, everything about this movie sounds like it's going to be good.
I will buy it, but with a little asterisk beside it. As long as we get the theory of everything Eddie Redmayne and not the Jupiter ascending Eddie Redmayne.
But you see,
he was awful in that. It wasn't just a bad movie, man. He was terrible in that role.
No, the thing about that is he went for it the way Tom Hanks went for it in Cloud Atlas. That's where you surrender yourself to the director and you're going with what the director, the Wachowskis, what they wanted. While his performance
was awful.
While his performance, that's him going for the role and the performance, showing he's willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why he's fantastic in whatever he wants to do.
So he was awful. And as long as we've seen it, and it's not just theory of everything. He has been brilliant in some other stuff as well. If that's the Eddie Redmayne we're bringing, it is a great name to attach to a project like this because it gives it a little bit of a bump. Harry Potter fans right now should be very excited. If these go through and it actually clicks, you can't look at it any other way than being a buy. Anyway,
yeah, I buy it. I think he elevated the theory of everything and he deserved to win that Oscar. I will argue, though, that the Jupiter Ascending wasn't awful. It was just over the top. Because I actually enjoyed the badness of Jupiter Ascending. It was like the best double feature I saw this year.
So bad.
We saw that with Seventh Son. And it was
me and Dennis. Yeah. We did a double feature. We said, you know what we're doing tonight? Let's go see Jupiter Ascending and
Seventh Son.
And Seventh Son at the same time. I saw the same night.
I saw Jupiter Ascending twice, actually, both times at AMC theaters. Want to throw that out there in Burbank here. And I actually liked it more the second time. I will admit the movie has issues. Yeah. I'm not pretending it doesn't, but
let's just say it's like Chronicles of Riddick meets Dune meets some weird Wachowski weirdness. It's fun. It's dumb. It doesn't make a lot of sense. There's people fighting flying dragons. It's cool. There's madness. It's insane. If you missed it, shame on you.
All right, let's move on. What's the next
Jupiter
topic?
Ascending.
According to reports, Ian McKellen has become the latest member of the ever-growing cast of the upcoming Disney live-action version of Beauty and the Beast. McKellen will be taking on the role of Cogsworth, the butler turned into a living clock by the Enchantress's spell. McKellen joins Emma Watson, Luke Evans, Kevin Kline, Josh Gad, Emma Thompson, and Dan Stevens as the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is set to hit AMC theaters on March 17, 2017. John Byer sell Ian McKellen as Cogsworth and Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, bye. Dear heavens, this cast. Yeah. Like, seriously, Emma Watson is going to be a name that we're going to be talking about for the next 30 years. I mean, she's already just proven she's got that level of talent. I'm a big fan of Luke Evans, even though he's been in some terrible films. I think he's ridiculously talented. You run down Kevin Kline in probably one of my top 5 all-time favorite comedies, A Fish Called Wanda. Ken's coming to kill me. I love that movie so much. Emma Thompson. I mean, and now you're adding Ian McKellen as Cogsworth. Now the big question is going to be this is going to be key, really key for this. Who are they pairing him up with as Lemire, as the Candlestick? Who's going to be that?
Didn't we talk about Sacha Baron Cohen?
Sacha Baron Cohen would still absolutely be my pick for the Candlestick. Playing off McKellen, I think that would be genius. Anyway.
Yeah, listen, Bill Condon has put together the cast to end all casts. And I mean, this is obviously going to be a monstrous film.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I didn't mean that. But you also left off Dan Stevens.
Yes, yeah.
A tremendous actor. I'm blown away by the cast. And I really think that this movie is going to be huge because everything I've heard through the grapevine is that they're making something special.
Schnepp?
I buy it for sure. I love Ian McKellen, but I can't remember. Do they like magically morph back into their human forms at the end?
Spoiler!
I can't remember.
Yes,
yeah, they do. All right,
yes.
so then we'll see a little bit of Ian McKellen instead of just like a weird CG, clock thing. But yeah, I buy this cast. This sounds fantastic. So,
all right, what's next?
A brand new trailer for the upcoming Terminator Genisys has hit the web. In the film, when John Connor, played by Jason Clarke, leader of the Human Resistance, sends Sergeant Kyle Reese, Jai Courtney, back to 1984 to protect Sarah Connor, Emilia Clarke, and safeguard the future, an unexpected turn of events creates a fractured timeline. Schnepp Byers saw this new trailer for Terminator Genisys.
I just have to correct you. It's Terminator Genisys. That's the way I say it.
Come on, Ashley.
Yeah,
Come on.
I just really want you to get on board with me on this. So yeah, you know what? I'm going to tentatively buy this trailer. I know if you see this trailer, it's a massive spoil. It's like spoiler filled. And there's a lot of things where you're like, I thought they were going to do that in Terminator Salvation. They thought it was a bad idea. But now they're doing it, and you'll see when you watch the trailer. So I was like, I love the Terminator series, good or bad. I'm going to watch all of them. And, I'm still holding out that this is going to be a really fun, crazy, time-jumping, time-traveling adventure. I haven't seen the Doctor Who character. I mean, I know he's in it.
He's in the future.
Okay, he's in the future.
Tennant.
Okay, I just haven't. Is it David Tennant or who?
Just to be clear,
it's Matt Smith.
Just to be
Matt
clear,
Smith.
there is no Doctor Who character in this movie. There is a Doctor Who actor in the
Right.
movie.
Matt
Before people get all too excited about
Right,
this.
it's a mashup, man. It's
That's
Doctor
how the
Who
time
fighting
travel
Terminator.
happens. Doctor
They get
Who
into
brings
TARDIS.
the Terminator
Yeah.
back. All right, look, I'm one of those people. There weren't many of us that actually thought the first Terminator trailer was actually okay. I thought it was all right. I mean, it did enough to get me at least a little bit interested. I know a lot of people really hated it. I love this trailer. I watched it for the first time this morning, and I got to admit, my attitude was, ugh, here's the next Terminator trailer. First one looked okay, and this one's going to kill it. Loved it. I absolutely ate it up. It gave me that same feeling I had when I was getting ready to watch Terminator 2. I mean, and I think that's really on purpose that they're doing that. Yeah. They're trying to give that sort of a feel. Look, does that mean the movie is going to be awesome? Obviously not. But if we're just talking about the trailer, I loved it. So for me, it's going to be a buy.
First thing that people should remember is they are planning this as a trilogy. So they laid out story. This isn't going to be one of these movies that ends and then they're wondering where do we go. They have a trilogy in mind. Saying that, I agree. The trailer's awesome and it absolutely amped me up to see it. Going further than that, it is effing loaded with spoilers though. Yeah. Like it gives
really
away,
is.
like I had
really
no
is.
idea about this twist that's in the trailer. And to be honest, I would have rather not known till I got into the movie theater, but I understand this movie costs $100 and something million. You have to get us excited right now and being like, oh my God, this looks great. But at the same time, you're giving away huge chunks of story to get people in the theater. And this is one of those things where marketing is just,
unless I'll say this because that's the exact feeling I had watching it. But then I thought, okay, if that whole revelation of Jason Clarke happened, say, in the first 20 minutes of the film, and that's a main story that then runs through the rest of the movie, I'll forgive it.
Then it's
But
awesome.
if it's like a big twist that happens, like deep into the third act, and you've given it to us already, then I'm going to be really mad.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
If it happens within even the first half, if that all the stuff that's in that trailer happens. I mean, look at like Avengers: Age of Ultron. That's a 2.5-hour movie, and they were really careful about the way they laid out all those trailers. We only saw little clips and then a little bit more of each of those clips. So if you've seen the commercials for Age of Ultron, you still haven't seen hardly any of the film. So there's all these things that you have no idea that you're going to see. That's exciting.
This also explains how they got Jason Clarke in the movie. Because I was
Yeah.
like, what is he just doing in the future?
Right.
You have this big actor who's just going
Who's
to
going to
be
be
in the
there
movie.
for 10 minutes to
Yeah,
send
like
Kyle
I'm like,
back.
that's really weird.
Right.
But now, like, and listen, I give them credit because I'd been hearing about a big twist. A lot of people have been in like a lot of innuendo online.
I hope this wasn't it.
Well, no, I think this was a big. I think this is what a lot of people have been sitting on
Oh,
and
okay.
not reporting. And what's funny is Paramount just gave it away in the trailer, But anyway, but it looks great. The trailer looks fantastic.
All right, what's next?
Marvel has just released a new AntMan trailer online, giving us our first real look at the film's villain, Yellow Jacket. The film stars Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, Corey Stoll, and opens in AMC theaters on July 17th. Steve, buy or sell this new trailer for AntMan?
Oh, I buy. I've through the grapevine, I've been hearing how I heard the movie's really good and surprisingly really funny. Which Adam McKay and Paul Rudd wrote the script, so this is not a surprise. I think the trailer's great. I think the ending with the train set.
That was hilarious.
Right, and I think that is a lot of the movie is like that funny kind of stuff. I know this movie's going to be good. Marvel's riding this insane Pixar-esque track record. The question is it going to be great? That's my only question. I know it's good.
I am absolutely. I'm going to buy this. And as I should mention, Ray, who does our graphics, you're doing a great job today, Ray. I mean, all the stuff you're putting together is looking awesome. But here's the thing: they actually showed us this trailer a few days ago at that Avengers press conference I did, because it was really cool, because they said, hey, make sure everybody stays in their seats when the press conference is done. They told me they're going to show everybody the Ant-Man trailer first. Like Kevin Feige came over to me, he goes, I'm not kidding. I literally just gave my final okay to this trailer 5 minutes before I walked into the room. I'm like, all right, let's go. And they showed it to us. Looks really funny. And you know what's really interesting? There's a line in the trailer where it says, like, can we give like everybody the power to be gods? Right? Stuff like that.
Right.
There's a lot of talk going on right now that is a very key line that is going to lead up to Civil War. That they're going to introduce a lot of themes in Ant-Man, because a lot of us have been looking at Ant-Man as a post-credits almost to Avengers, and not really as the precursor to Civil War. And I think what this trailer has done is suggested a lot of different things that this may actually segue us into Civil War in quite a way. But forget all that. Just as a trailer, that train scene at the end was so well set up, so well shot. For me, it's a buy.
Yeah, I buy it too. This really sold me on the movie too. I've been an Ant-Man fan since I was a kid, and I was always wondering, how are they going to make, when they announced it like 6 or 7 years ago, we're going to make an Ant-Man movie. I was like, all right, well, aren't there all these other characters like that? I wasn't against it, but I was also like, boy, I'd almost rather see Moon Knight before Ant-Man. Now I'm sold on Ant-Man. It looks like just seeing what they can do now with CG and having him actually communicate with ants. I can't wait to see that whole that secret world of him hanging out with ants. I know it's going to be a very small section, but
are we all in agreement though? It's a better trailer than the first one was.
Oh, but again, it's so important to reemphasize that the reason why early trailers, just to be honest, stink is because the VFX are just not done. It's only until you get closer to release that these final VFX shots come in, like Feige probably approved some of those. And that's the other reason why we haven't seen Batman Superman yet, why the trailer is on Fury Road.
Right.
You had to get closer to release to get those VFX shots.
right, or even Star Wars for that matter.
Oh, well.
By the way, both of these are coming.
And they're both coming. All right, what's next?
According to The Wrap, Project Almanac director Dean Israelite is in talks to helm the upcoming big screen version of The Power Rangers. Israelite is also currently attached to the remake of the 1980s classic War Games for MGM. John Byer saw Dean Israelite directing The Power Rangers.
I'm going to sell this. And you know what? Project Almanac was actually a film I actually kind of liked. I thought I didn't think it looked very good. I wasn't excited, but then I watched it. I'm like, you know what? This isn't a bad little film. But I think if you're going to do Power Rangers, I think you just got to go nuts with this thing. And I think you bring in somebody, it doesn't have to be a big name director, but you got to bring in somebody who knows how to execute action on screen and be crazy with it. I can tell you, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine a couple weeks ago who asked me, who do you think should direct Power Rangers? I said, right now, get the 2 European dudes who just did John Wick. Get them in. I mean, you're not going to see Power Rangers shooting a lot of guys in the head.
Shots, right.
But the amount of that frantic
Right.
and just like nonstop energy that John Wick delivered, you bring something like that to Power Rangers, I think that could be something really special, minus the fatalities. But I think that could be really cool. So anyway, as I look down Israelite's, like his resume, I don't see a lot there that makes me go, wow, this guy's really going to capture the action. It might be brilliant. Who knows? Let's not write it off. But if you're going to ask me right now if I buy or sell it, I'm going to sell it for now. Steve?
I have a lot. I'm going to try to be brief. I actually buy Dean doing this movie. I think that he can definitely do this. He is related to John Lieberman, the guy who did Battle of Los Angeles. I've seen them two communicate. They're very tight. I think Dean can do this movie. What I don't know is what Saban, who owns Power Rangers, wants to do. I've heard they want to do an origin story, and that I've just heard some interesting things about the project, and I'm just going to say that I don't know if the story they're doing is going to be what the adults want to see. I think it's definitely geared more towards kids, and I think it's more like a Ninja Turtles like an origin kind of thing.
Right.
Then anyway, the point is I think he could do it. I just want to know what the script is.
Who was the director who released that short Power Rangers?
Joseph Kahn.
Joseph Kahn. Now, to me, that's the Power Rangers that I would like to see as a film. The TV series, I never got into it, so I will buy that this guy's directing it. I'm glad he got a job, but I have zero interest in it. So, that's just how I feel.
I really think it's an origin story, and I really think it's aimed at a younger audience.
Right, that's what Saban wants. He wants to sell action figures.
That's
awesome.
Exactly it.
All right, folks, listen, we don't have time for mailbag today, but we still want to take some of your questions, and we love taking your questions through Twitter. So if you have a question you'd like to get on our show, you can tweet us. Just tweet out your question and put in the hashtag AMC Movie Talk so we can see your tweets. We've pulled out a couple of tweets from the Twitter sphere. So Ashley, what's in there?
First one comes from Ben Brown, and he writes, does your excitement or fanboyism sometimes affect your rating of a movie?
I can honestly say no. But the reason I can say no is because it used to. And it used to in the harshest, most horrible way possible. I gave all of the Star Wars prequel movies positive reviews when they came out because I lied to myself. I drank the Kool-Aid, and it took a process of years for me to watch them more and more. I saw The Phantom Menace in theaters 18 times. 18 times.
I did not break 10.
The only reason it was 18 was because I was a producer at a visual effects company at the time. And like whenever lunch break would come around, we were like 5 minutes from a theater, we'd be like, want to go do some research? And we would go and watch The Phantom Menace because the visual effects at the time were the most mind-blowing effects you've ever seen. And then the next one came out. And the next one was just a little bit less egregious than The Phantom Menace. So I thought, oh, this one was good. And then Revenge of the Sith came out, which was a little bit better than the previous one. So I'm like, oh, this one is good. It took me years of rehab and counseling to finally come to the harsh realization, man, these movies suck.
Misa's so sad.
So I learned a harsh and valuable lesson. No matter my fandom, no matter my geekness, whatever, take my expectations, no matter how geekdom high or fandom low, and leave them at the door before I go into the theater and then just judge that movie on its own merits, because I learned a harsh and terrible lesson that I still bear the scars of today. Anyway, see, what about you? Do you find your anticipation kind of sometimes skews your perception of a movie?
That's a good question. I think sometimes when you're in the theater and you're with a lot of people and the energy is there, it can sometimes add maybe a letter grade. Like if you think it's a B, you can get to an A. If it's a C, you can sometimes give it a B. But I think that a bad movie is a bad movie, and a good movie is I think that I've gotten to the point where I can see through it, but I will definitely admit there can be a 10% thing due to the audience you're with.
I mean, look, there's going to be a moment where I go, it doesn't matter how good Batman versus Superman is, the first moment, like if the first 20 minutes of that movie suck, the first moment we see Batman and Superman on screen together, I'm going to cry like a schoolgirl. I am going to completely lose it and just be so happy and nothing else will matter. Then I'll have to reel it back in and get myself. Anyway, Shep, what about your fandom? Does that affect you, do you think?
Sometimes it does. I'll be honest. When I saw Phantom Menace for the first time, I stood in line with everybody. I saw it at the Grauman's. And I remember about 25 minutes in, I started looking at my seat and I said, I can't believe I'm bored at a Star Wars movie. And I came out and hated it. And I was greeted with, other people who loved it. So it was a kind of argument because I just was like,
you bumped into me. You bumped into me.
No, but I totally understand that because it's like, it's such a thing that's ingrained in you. And I think that, that does happen with a lot of big event films, especially ones that I'm really excited for. I agree with what Steven said. It's like your excitement of the film, right when you come out, it could be like heightened to like maybe a 5 or 10 plus point, like way out, way in type of thing. But over the years, I've tried to go in and lower my expectations, especially for giant, big blockbuster films. So that way, if it sucks, I won't be super bummed. And if it's incredibly awesome, I'll be really excited. I'd like try to have that medium level. For me so far, of all the films that I've seen in advance and whatnot, I can definitely say Fury Road is the high point of any film I've seen so far as like meeting expectations, meeting lowered expectations, and blowing me away.
All right, what's next?
Michael Hill writes, who do you guys think are some of the most underrated villains?
I have said for years since Serenity came out, Chiwetel Ejiofor's role as the operative in Serenity is a killer screen villain. He is terrifying, and he's terrifying because he's smooth. And I've always said that the most terrifying, most frightening, most dangerous villains on screen are the ones who think they're the good guys. And you get all of that wrapped up into Ejiofor's character. If you've not seen Serenity, it's just a great movie. It's a really great sci-fi movie on its own. But just watch it for him as the operative. He's incredible. What are some villains for you guys?
I'm going to say Vincent Price as Egghead from the Batman animated series. And while I'm at it, Tut, bring it on. I want to see the have an evil Egyptian dude.
I'll be honest, I thought about it, and I didn't really come up with the underrated movie villains the way that I think the person on Twitter was wondering. But I would say that I think that a lot of people forget that any movie is only as good as your antagonist. And that a great antagonist really is everything. It's the reason why, Loki's great, or why Die Hard is great. It's just
Hans Gruber.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important, and it's so many people forget the importance of just a strong antagonist.
All right, last one.
Last one comes from Movies by Austin, and they write, what are the chances we see 4+ movies this year break $1 billion this year? No year has more than 3.
I think there is a outside shot. We may get 5. I think there's an outside shot. I think there's a pretty decent one we're going to get 4. Look, Fast and Furious is going to cross that mark. We know Star Wars is going to hit that mark. We know Avengers is going to hit that mark. Maybe in 6 hours, Avengers will hit that mark. Right. Then we've got a few other ones to here that are a little bit of question marks. But I think Jurassic World has a shot at crossing that. If it's really good, it has a shot at that. You got to look at the Hunger Games film coming out. That one's got a pretty decent shot. You look at Mad Max Fury Road. I'm not picking it to do it, but it has a shot if it blows a lot of people away.
I'm going to say it doesn't, because I think that the shadow of Avengers is going to affect it.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be there too. But I do think there is a possibility of 5, but I would put my money on 4. What do you think of the chances of 4 of them hitting it?
I think, well, with Furious 7 crossing it, for sure, I think that the 4 mark is very, very realistic.
Especially since Avengers, Star Wars got to be automatics, right?
Yeah,
so that would give you 3 there.
Unless, Avengers is going to make $500 million that opening week. Right. I mean, it's going to destroy records. Yeah. And Star Wars is going to destroy records, and Furious will cross it. And so the question is, what's the other movie? And it wouldn't surprise me if there was another one.
Oh, and then look, remember, the Despicable Me 2 made $970 million. So Minions is probably going to cross that 1 billion.
Millions
mark.
Might make 5 billion.
I mean, so we got to. Then there's this little James Bond movie coming out.
Yeah, that's another thing.
That has a. I think
Terminator Genisys. That might.
Terminator Genisys may actually do it. So
no, I mean, I think that it's very realistic. But it's very realistic. This is a big year.
All right. Well, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video, and you'll find a link to our podcast feed so you can listen to us on the way to work or while you're at school or doing things you should otherwise really be paying attention to, but you're not. I also want to thank the guys sitting at this table with me. First of all, sitting over here, our very special guest today, editor-in-chief of Collider.com, my buddy Frosty, Steve Weintraub. Steve, where can people find you online?
I believe you can find me on Collider and on Twitter as Collider Frosty.
Sitting over here, of course, John Schnepp.
Hey, what's
Schnepp,
going
where
on?
can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, just at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH, and get your tickets on Fandango to see The Death of Superman Lives What Happened May 1st, May 2nd.
I'm going to be there. The Schmoes guys are going to be there.
Yeah, the red carpet's April 30th, so come on down.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
Twitter, Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
And of course, you can find me on the various interweb sites, the Facebooks and the Twitters, just at John Campia. That'll do for us today, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News. And until next time, bye-bye.